Yeah, so I think the biggest problem is that law enforcement doesn't think it can tell the difference between hemp, which is could be a 15-foot tall plant, and marijuana, which is a shrubby thing with a lot of, I think particularly the female flowers have a lot of that oil in it that has a lot of THC in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not law enforcement, but it seems to me like they're making it out to be harder than it really is to tell the difference. And of course, another way around it is to legalize the recreational use. Although that wouldn't help the truck drivers that are hauling large amounts of hemp across state lines. You've heard about that, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I read that article and it made an impression. There are a few truck drivers that are kind of screwed right now.
Yeah,
I think it was in Oklahoma and some other western state like Idaho or someplace.
And it's just because the interstate laws are different,
right? And the these zealous law enforcement state trooper people
got to get it in.
And they couldn't tell the difference. I get that. And there's a giant truck full of cut cannabis. On the other hand, these truck drivers, I haven't read the follow-up, but I think they have to have their day in court and they could be facing some jail time or serious fines. So that's a problem. Okay, that's a big problem that has to be ironed out.
So in your opinion, do you think the biggest misconception between hemp and marijuana is just the fact that it's all of the cannabis species?
Yeah,
that's it.
It's a very plastic plant, and what that means is that it can take many forms, many concentrations. There are other plants that are like that too, but this one is, a field of hemp that somebody's growing really doesn't. The leaves look the same, but the plant doesn't really look like the stuff that people grow in their basements under the floodlights. It doesn't look like that at all.
No, it doesn't.
Not that I would know. So and law enforcement. I'm not dissing them. It is something that has to be worked out.
Yeah.
But again, back to that article. The article also said that these truck drivers had paperwork.
So they
had the paperwork from the legal grower, and they had paperwork from the legal lab where they were sending it to.
You would think they'd be covered then.
And it didn't satisfy the Mountie that nailed them. And I just think that they really have to work that out.
Yeah, they do.
Anyway, back to the articles that I pulled up. Is all of these guys running for agriculture commissioner, all of them say that, I think they're right, is that hemp is still a small part of Kentucky's agricultural product, but it's growing really fast. Okay, they all say that. That's like 1%, but it's tailing up.
So I actually read an article, and I was doing like some crop comparison, and it said like an acre of corn on a high yield produces about like an $800 net gain. Cannabis is reaching tens of thousands just for an acre.
The hemp. Yeah.
For like the CBDs.
Yeah.
And all that.
And that's because that it's becoming, let's not take this word wrong. I can't think of another word. It's becoming like a dietary / supplement fad. And when something like that takes off, demand goes sky high, and it's all over the internet, and people are putting it on their skin, and they're taking capsules and all of this stuff. And it's becoming a big rage.
Hemp seed protein?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And, and I don't think that the growers can keep up with it.
Yeah.
So
it's such a high demand.
Yeah, and I'm not an agricultural, economist, but as your yield of any crop goes up and up and up, it'll start to catch up to demand and prices will fall, right? But right now they must be in a really sweet spot.
I was about to
right?
say.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's all over the internet. People are interested in this.
Yeah. Medical fields want it.
Yeah, and it's still, people are getting individual permits to grow just this many acres of hemp, but it is growing.
Yeah.
And these candidates for agricultural commissioner say that it's skyrocketing, and they all have slightly different ways that they would. The Democrats are saying we want to help the little farmers because that's what Democrats say, and the Republicans say we're doing a great job, because they're in power and that's what they say, But they all of them agree that this thing is in Kentucky is totally taking off, and I don't know, I can't think of anything that's going to stop it right now, and I think it's good.
Yeah, so you think it's overall just beneficial from anything from industry to economy to individual?
Yeah, hemp cloth, hemp sacks, all of that stuff is it's anything that can help farmers.
Yeah, right.
To me, this is a poor state. There probably are some big landowning farmers here. Mm-hmm. And beef is a good cash crop, but many of them have lost tobacco, and if I were a young farmer, I would be very interested in how this goes. Yeah. If I were your age and I was going to take over the family farm or something.
I have investments in actually.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think it's
hemp industry, cannabis.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah. It's doing well.
Kentucky will probably be one of the last states to legalize.
You think so?
Yeah. Kentucky's usually lags behind other states. And it's not to say, again, I'm not a student of this, but I think the Colorados and the Washingtons are having a few problems with it.
They are.
It's not just easy street now. Yeah. They are having some problems.
More so with the marijuana side.
Yeah. But yeah, Kentucky will be one of the last ones. The again, you can read the article, and I just read it again this morning because it was interesting. And the two Democrats running for commissioner they seem to be in favor of legalizing medical marijuana. Where you go through a doctor and you get a prescription and you do these things. And the Republicans didn't. I don't think they said one way or another. And I don't. I think one of the Democrats said, well, maybe legalization is the way to go, of recreational. Yeah. Again, Colorado and, I think they have a few problems with it.
It just gets abused.
Yeah, I guess.
And people try to make their own profit off
and I know you're going to cut this out because it's not your topic, but,
it's fine.
I'm sure there's some problems with people under the influence driving around and being not 100%. Mm-hmm. They're a little screwed up. Yeah. But this is just me talking. You can cut this out. I probably shouldn't even say it on the recording, but
I'm enjoying this.
It seems to me that is a lesser societal evil or adverse thing than throwing a lot of people in jail for small amounts of recreational marijuana. And I'm not saying that, driving, or running machinery or what, it's not a good thing. It's not alcohol, but it's not a good thing. But it just seems to me that throwing a lot of people in jail for, small, there's been no violence, whatever. Anyway, you can cut all of that out. I'm just saying, well, I guess officially I'm saying that there's still a lot to work out.
There is. It's young. It's been going on for maybe 15 years now.
Yeah, and they need to help law enforcement so that they don't stop trucks full of essentially rope.
And T-shirts.
Yeah, and So what else can we talk about? Is any of this? You're going to snip some of this and it'll be helpful?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anything else that we want to talk about?
Honestly...
The unbelievable similarity between this cannabidiol and tetrahydrocannabinol. See, I said it. They're very, very similar chemically.
Yeah,
And the plant is, well, before you started this, we talked about how variable the plant is.
Yeah.
In fact, botanically, I believe that some botanists think that it should be 3 species. And I forget their names. Cannabis indica was one of them.
Cannabis sativa.
That's one of them, and then there's a third one too. And they are all very similar, obviously, but there are people who have that opinion.
Yeah.
That there should be different species.
I kind of think it makes sense.
But it's not. Now, don't misunderstand. It's not.
Same,
hemp is one
same
species,
but different, like almost subspecies.
Yeah. Well, what it is it's a very variable plant, and well, here's an example. Hemp is to marijuana a little bit like, almost like Swiss chard is to beets, or cauliflower is to broccoli, or in other words, these are plants that have been in domestication for a long time, and some people in China probably worked on this plant and got it really tall and had the fibers really long and strong, and it became hemp. Other people probably worked with the plant material and filled up the seeds with the oil, and it became a seed oil. Other people, maybe in India or someplace, realized the potency, the psychotropic potency of it, and they worked with that, just like some of the underground growers in the United States do this. And you can do this. It's a plant that is apparently very pliable genetically. And people have had a lot of success with increasing the potency of CBDs, increasing the potency of THC, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, probably 20-fold, or more than that. And people working on the fibers of hemp. So it's confusing.
It is.
It's confusing.
I'm going to stop it just so I